Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. It means so much to me that you're listening today. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. If this is your first time listening, I just want to say welcome. I'm really glad you're here. Be sure to listen to the end of every episode. That's where we have the kids only segment where kids just like you get to be on the podcast. Well, if you're someone like me, I love the fall season. I love the leaves changing. I love all the fun drinks like hot chocolate and pumpkin spice lattes and all those things. But I also really love football. I think fall and football, they just go together. And so that's why I'm really excited for you guys to hear our conversation today with a very cool football player from the University of Georgia. His name is Jacob Hardie. He is passionate about the game and his relationship with God. When he's not playing as a running back for UGA during the season, he is coaching youth football camps and giving back to his community. Today, we're going to dive into what it's like to be a football player. So if you have kids that might be interested or kids that love the game, I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation with my friend, number 45, Jacob Hardie. Well, Jacob Hardie, I am so excited to have you on the Collide Kids podcast.
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And for all my Georgia listeners, they're going to be really excited to hear that you are a UGA Bulldog.
I am. I'm a running back here at the University of Georgia. Go Dogs.
Let's go, dog. Let's go, dogs. That's awesome. Well, I've told a little bit about you, but will you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jacob Hardie. Some people, not a lot of people, but some people call me JTT. It's a youth nickname. I play football here at the University of Georgia. I'm heading into my third season. So I was a part of not the first national championship team, but the second national championship team.
Nice.
So I like to make a joke that I am in the College Football Hall of Fame under the roster. Not really anything else, but at least on the roster list.
That's cool.
I'm from Washington, D.C. I was born in Georgetown.
Okay.
Lived in Virginia, and now we stay in Maryland. I'm a big DMV guy. I love my home a lot. I love football, not only playing, but coaching, being around it, learning it. Football is like a big passion for me. I couldn't see myself doing anything else. Even when I'm done playing, I kind of want to be around it in any facet I can.
That's really cool. I love that. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about your journey. First of all, I love the fact that you play for Georgia and you're a huge football fan. But more important than that is you are a Christian and you follow Jesus. So I'd love to know a little bit about your faith journey and how you became a Christian.
I was born into it, kind of like I don't want to say a lot of Christians, but most people, your parents influence your faith. But I always took, it sounds weird talking about faith like this, but I always took a liking to it. Like I was always very in tune with the afterlife and what bigger beings than me are out there. And I was just kind of raised to believe that one being was God. And then, he gave his son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross and save us of our sins. Yeah. And that's always what I believed in. I've had moments where my faith has been tested. I lost my aunt in 2020 to pancreatic cancer, and she was like my second mom. So there was a point because I didn't understand why God would let something like that happen. Mm-hmm. I lost a childhood friend not that far after, probably around 3 months later. So there was a lot of hardships that I would say more tested my faith. But I think I came out stronger, and I go to God in the good times, the bad times, and everything in between.
That's awesome. I love that. And I think you're right. We are all going to go through, if we haven't yet, we're all going to go through tough times. We're all going to go through difficult circumstances or times when we might lose someone we love or might have to walk away from a place that we care about. But we always turn back to God. And that's the safest place we can be is trusting in him, even when it's hard.
Agreed.
So you were talking earlier about how much you love football. You've always loved football. So how did your journey start with football?
With football, actually, want to say my first sport ever was either soccer or basketball. Not too much a fan of soccer, actually. Basketball I like, but I'm on the shorter side. I can't lie. So, that kind of didn't choose me more than I didn't choose it.
Right.
But football, I don't know what. I remember my first time scoring a touchdown. I remember all that stuff. And it was just like a wave of just not even emotion, of just great feeling. Like it's like warm. It just felt natural. It felt homely and all that stuff. Like I used to say this all the time. I've talked about it with some of my coaches and even like my dad. Like football can be my biggest stress, but it's also my biggest peace.
Mm-hmm.
So like I can sit back and like stressing about, learning plays or trying to make a certain time or whatever it might be. But then also if I'm stressing outside of the field with, whether it's family or school or just things that happen to go on in life, football is my biggest way to get away from that. Yeah. So football has just been a very safe space. I can't play a game whenever I want, but I can always work on my game whenever I want. Mm-hmm. And that's always been very comforting for me. And something about the game of football, even if I'm not physically playing it, has always fascinated me. Like how there's a mind game behind it. Your mental plays into it as much as like you need to be smart to do it. It's not just a brute force sport as a lot of people think. There's a lot of thought that goes into, our coordinators and our head coaches. Most of their job is playing chess.
Right. It's all strategy, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful game to me, and I couldn't imagine my life without it.
So did you start playing when you were like in middle school, or when do you think you started?
I started playing tackle football in 3rd grade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Herndon Hornets out in Virginia.
All right.
Shout out Coach Wilson. When I was younger, I could not stand him, but as I grew older, I learned to appreciate him. And then I started flag football probably like pre-K kindergarten.
Okay.
So football in general, I've probably been playing for almost like 17 years.
Wow. And so what are some things about playing football that you would say are stressful? So when you're playing the game, you said sometimes it's a big stressor. What are the stressors for you when you're playing the game?
I think all players have the same. If you're not playing well, not to say you think about messing up, but you think about not messing up. Mm-hmm. So you're like, hey, I really want to do good. And the passion that makes you want to do good can also push the stress of not wanting to do bad. Like, man, I really want to go out there and score 1 billion touchdowns and be the guy and do all this stuff. But then naturally, as you think about wanting to do that, you're going to think about, well, what if I fumble or what if I this? Mm-hmm. And after coming to Georgia, you kind of learn to like, not to say just forget about the bad thoughts because they're always going to be there and they are a possibility and you don't want it to just never be in your head. But you learn to manage them and kind of keep them at what they are. Like, these are just thoughts. I have control over what I can control. And everything else, I just got to let it be. So on the field, I would say, it could be wanting to do well, not wanting to mess up. Always if a mom and dad are in the stands, you always want to impress them. Especially like here at Georgia, mom and dad might not be in the stands, but 60, 70,000 other people are in the stands. That's right. And I love Georgia fans, so not them, but fans in general will flip on you very fast.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're always keeping that in your mind, like you make a bad play, you're like, I already know some guy sitting on his couch typing a 4-page YouTube comment about how I'm the worst player in America and I need to give up football for the rest of my life. So
that's right. We're all sitting on the couch eating like chips and salsa and watching you guys like get, pummeled out there. So yeah, we all have a perspective that's different than what you do for sure.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about when you play football. What are the things that you are really good at when it comes to football? Like, what are those talents or those skills that you have that just, like you said, just come so naturally?
So I actually played receiver most of my life. So coming to Georgia, I switched to running back, and it has been a little different, and it was a very big learning curve for me and still is.
Tell us about what receivers do.
So wide receivers catch the ball from the quarterback. So
okay,
like a Odell Beckham, I know a lot of kids love him, or nowadays a Justin Jefferson, guys like that. My favorite receiver, because he's from my hometown, is Stephon Diggs. He's actually my favorite player ever. But
okay.
There's a lot of skill that comes with receiver, where a lot of football positions can be a brute force. I know I said they aren't, but a lot of positions can be brute force. Mm-hmm. Receiver most times come with a lot of skill, a lot of grace, a lot of learning how to control your body and almost make people control their body in a way you want them to. So like I got to make a cornerback or a DB think I'm going one way and fully make him go that way when I'm really going somewhere else.
While also catching the ball at the same time.
While also catching a ball from, Carson Beck, who's beaming it. And we got to do that in the matter of 2.5 to 3 seconds. All of that.
That's a lot of things to think about at once.
Right.
So now what position do you play? Running back. So what does the running back do?
So running backs, we're usually right next to or behind the quarterback. We get the ball a lot faster, which I do appreciate. So, if it's a run play, it's hike, hand the ball to me. And whereas, receiver, I might got to run around, get open and do all this stuff. So this one, getting the ball comes faster.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a more brute force position, a lot more of a gladiator position. I love it. Running backs, what would I say we do? We run. Like Coach Crawford says, catchers catch, throwers throw, and runners run. We run. Yeah. We're supposed to run hard and as best as we can, run straight north and south. Try not to go left and right. If you can get a good 5 yards of carry, you'll go somewhere.
So do you get hit a lot?
A lot.
A lot. Tell us about that, because I feel like a lot of people don't understand. I mean, I know you're wearing all the helmet and all the pads and stuff. What does that feel like to get hit?
I might not be the best person to ask this because I'm stocky and I work out. Clearly, I'm on the team. We have to work out, but I'm not. If you saw me on the street, you might say, "Oh, he might play a sport," but some people might not think it's football.
Okay.
I'm not a super big. I'm 5'8", 185, 180, 185.
Okay.
So hits hit me a lot harder.
Okay.
I say all that to say, so the average running back in our room is probably 210, 215. I'm 30, 40 pounds under that.
Wow.
Hits hit me a lot harder, so I try to use more speed and agility to avoid them, which has helped me get here. But I always had the thing of I don't like people seeing me hurt. So if I took a bad hit, I'm popping up. I wouldn't let anybody see me hurt, because that's just kind of the toughness of it.
Right.
But take all the toughness aside, it can be a beating. It can definitely be a beating. You can definitely feel it. The joints will feel it. Everything will feel it. But if you love it, you figure it out. It's the part you get through it because you love the game so much. Right. Yeah, and that's part of it. And to an extent, that can be the enjoyable part. You kind of like the roughhousing of it. Yeah. That's cool. So tell us about how you got to Georgia. You're from Washington, D.C. How'd you come all the way to the South to UGA? Tell us about that. We'll be right back after this. Raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app. So I actually have a pretty crazy story. It's not long, but it is very different. I didn't have the stereotypical sitting up, flipping hats and, I'm going here and going here. I really didn't have that. Mm-hmm. I didn't really start getting, I don't even want to say heavily recruited because I was never heavily recruited, but I didn't even start getting recruited, period, until my junior year summer heading into my senior year. Mm-hmm. My freshman year, I played a little bit for my high school, made some plays. Sophomore year, about the same, a little bit more. Junior year was COVID, and we had a 4-game season in the spring, so we only played 4 games. I was slated to be a starter, and I was doing well. I was training all during COVID. Everything was looking good, and a week before our first of those 4 games, I tore my hamstring in practice. Oh, no. So I missed that entire 4 games. I mean, it was only 4 games. It was only 4 games. But that was my junior season, so I missed my entire junior season. Wow. But luckily, one of my coaches would record certain players at our practice. And Antonio Avery is one of my closest friends from back home. He plays linebacker at the University of Maryland. But he played quarterback for us that season. And he's when I say I'm small, he is the prototype size for 6'4", 6'5", 240, can run, can jump, everything. So every school in the country, I think he had 40 offers when we were in high school. But luckily for me, when Georgia was looking at him as a tight end and quarterback, I think it was both, because he actually didn't like quarterback. He wanted to play tight end and D end. But they were looking at him for tight end and quarterback. And when they were recruiting him, they were like, well, who's this kid he keeps throwing to in practice? Because he's making some plays too. Luckily, that happened to be me.
Oh, nice.
So when they invited him down to Athens for a private workout, they invited me as well. It went pretty well, and I was able to earn a preferred walk-on spot at the University of Georgia. And that was kind of how my journey started, off of an iPhone practice clip.
Of a video of someone else.
A video of someone else throwing me a few passes. That was how I got to the University of Georgia.
That's amazing. I love that. And I love that your coach would take video of just of the practices too, because lots of amazing things happen there just as well as the game. So That's good. So let me ask you this. What is it about football that teaches you about your relationship with God? What are some things that you're learning in football that you feel like line up with your faith or show you more about who God is?
Honestly, trust in the process, especially at Georgia coming in as a walk-on. I've been told I'm not expected to play in my 4 or 5 years as a walk-on. Now, am I accepting that? No, but I believe in God's path. So for me personally, I trust that God has a plan for me, and I'm going to stick to that. For the team aspect, like for a football team and how we relate our things back to our faith and God and bringing it all back to our spirituality process of, let's say, a hard season or a hard practice or anything like that, like, okay, Bama week or SEC championship week or national championship week, we know this is going to be a fight. But when we get to that game, we got to trust that all the work we've put in, all the faith we have in everything we've done is going to come out and work in our favor. The same way God tells you, like, if you just believe in me, you'll be good. Like, I'll take care of you. You'll be with me for eternity in heaven and all those great things. And that's how they kind of coincide. I think football can teach a lot of different aspects of faith through relationships with others, relationships with yourself, self-talk with yourself, talking to others, communication. I haven't been on a football team that doesn't pray before a game. As crazy it is, even if coaches or players don't believe in God, for some reason, everybody feels like you have to pray before a game.
Yeah.
So I just think football and faith are very closely tied. I think a lot of sports and faith are very closely tied, but football, maybe it's because of the brute force behind it that, everybody always wants like a little extra, like, hey, God, like, take care of me.
Covering.
Hey, God, I know I didn't go to church Sunday, but like, can you help me out? Like, just make sure I'm okay. Like, that might be why, but a lot of it, I think football and faith coincide together beautifully. And that's another reason I really love football.
Yeah, I do too. And I think whenever I've played on a sports team where you get to know the people on your team really well, you connected with them, like you said, you build those relationships and you depend on each other. Right. And just like in our lives, we can't just have our own faith where we don't go to church, we don't get involved with other people that believe what we do. We need to work together to glorify God, to help other people, to serve in our communities or whatever. And so I think any team sport is going to teach you about how much we can't just depend on ourselves. We have to rely on God and rely on our team.
No, I agree. Our chaplain, Thomas Settles, we actually have weekly Bible studies. And a majority of the team goes. I hate to talk about it because I actually haven't been in the past 2 weeks, but that's more based off scheduling, not avoiding. Right. But I usually do go. And then even players will lead their own Bible studies. Like I know Walter Blanchard and Jacob Fleming, two of my teammates, they led a player-led Bible study at, I think, Walter's house last weekend. So faith is very big on the team. Guys talk about it. We bring it up. We point each other to God, even in the hot, burning sun when we're doing sprints. Everybody will say, hey, God got us. God got us. Like it's a very prevalent thing in the University of Georgia and inside that indoor football facility.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love to hear stuff like that because you think, I wonder how they get through that, or I wonder if they prayed before this. Now we know. We got the inside track. That's really cool. So tell me some fun things that have happened to you as a result of being on the Georgia Bulldog team. So you did say you're in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You're on the roster.
Very small font.
Tiny print, but
next to
you're
everybody
there.
Else, but I'm in there.
I'm not in there, so you are.
In
so
there.
Mm-hmm. What are some other things that you've got to benefit from or some of the really cool things that you've enjoyed being at Georgia?
I will say probably taking my family on experiences that we probably would not have been on
Mm-hmm.
otherwise. My family's a big football family. My brother played at the University of Miami. My parents were actually immigrants. My dad's from Jamaica and my mom's from the Bahamas. So they
Okay.
didn't grow up football fans, but having me and my brother, and I have a younger sister, they just happened to grow into it. My dad, I say he got assimilated into it because like now he's like all about football and all this stuff. And I'm like, you didn't even have this as a kid, really.
Right.
My mom, she loves it because we love it. Like she'll root,
That's cool.
She knows what's going on. I'll tell her, I'll break it down to her and stuff like that. And then my sister, she loves football. Like one of her favorite movies as a little girl, like elementary school, was Draft Day.
Okay.
Yeah, so and like she's watched Draft Day easily 20 times.
That's
So
funny.
football is really big, and like the national championship specific, because we actually enjoy college football more than the NFL,
Mm-hmm.
which I know there's a lot of people like that. So I don't think that's too
Yeah,
weird. But like the national championship, that was like a family event. Like we all came
that's
together.
cool.
We all would watch that before we all watched the Super Bowl. So like when I was able to take them to the national championship my freshman year, and like giving everybody that experience, not only for myself but to everybody else, like that was really cool for me. And I enjoyed doing that because I know all those times we watched it in my basement, like as a
Yeah.
family, and we were like, I wonder what it would be like to be there. And like not only were we there, but we won it and in such an
Yeah.
amazing fashion. Like it was really nice. So I'd probably say that was probably the coolest part about being at Georgia.
I love that. That's really cool that your family got to experience that. So give us a day in the life of a football player. What is it like, say, or maybe a week, because you've probably got a lot of things you do in different days. So what does a week look like for you, maybe during the summer, early fall, as you're getting ready for the season to start?
Okay, so I'll give you two breakdowns. I'll give you summer, and then I'll give you like a regular season week game.
Okay.
Summer, if we have on Monday, we usually have your assigned lift times, which for us, it's 8 a.m., 10 a.m., or 1 p.m. I'm lucky. I think I have the best lift time. It's 10 a.m. Not
Okay.
too early, but not too late in the day.
Right.
So it's not too hot, but you can still kind of sleep in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You can get breakfast, enjoy your morning, but not be rushing. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we have lifts at your assigned lift time. And then on Monday and Wednesday, we have 7-on-7 later in the evening. You'll have your lift time, then you can go home, chill, relax, eat, school, work, whatever. Because like most of us are in summer classes. Like I'm in a summer class right now.
Okay.
So you have probably about a good 3-4 hour break to either chill out, knock out some school work, whatever you got to do. And then you will come back for meetings, treatment, if you need to get some, ailments figured out. And then we'll head out onto the field for practice. It's small. It's not as long as a season practice would be, but it's practice.
Okay.
Well, we'll do position drills, running through bags, cones, all that stuff. And then we'll break out into maybe some team on team stuff and then 7-on-7 usually to finish it out.
Okay.
Tuesdays, we do what we call speed school. So it's like technique running. So we'll work on trying to get everybody faster, more explosive, stuff like that. Thursdays is team run. That's the dreaded day. That's just straight up conditioning. Long sprints, short sprints, uphill sprints, downhill sprints, backward, every variation of sprinting you could think of,
Yeah.
we do it. And then Fridays, like I said, we lift, but then usually we're off after that. So like today, I lifted this morning. I'm free for the rest of the day.
Okay.
I actually do have, we have official visits this week. So I'm actually hosting a couple recruits this weekend, a few high school kids. So I'll go help out that later. But on a regular Friday, I would be free for the rest of the day. I'm done.
Okay.
During the season, Mondays are usually our kind of fine-tuned recap days.
Mm-hmm.
So if we just came off of a game that past Saturday, we'll watch film from that game, fix our mistakes. We have what we call good, bad, ugly. So it'll be like what we did good, what we did bad, and what we did really bad, the ugly.
Yeah.
And then we'll prepare for the next team we're facing, get the scouting report on them, understand what we need to do, the keys to success, the things that could get in the way of success. Tuesday, we call it Bloody Tuesday. That's the hardest practice of the week. You're going to be hitting a lot. That's like we got to get ready for a game. Wednesday, I personally think Wednesdays are worse than Tuesday. Don't tell Coach Kirby I said that.
I won't tell him.
But I do think
I hope he doesn't listen to this, though.
The only reason I think they're worse is because we do lift on Wednesday. So on Wednesdays, you have an early morning lift, and then you have during a regular school year, you'll have class. and then we'll have practice later in the day. And I think Wednesday practices and Tuesday practices are about the same, but having that lift in the morning can add a different, flavor onto it.
Right.
And then Thursdays, we usually pull back as we get closer to the game. That's a lot more fine tuning. Like, okay, this is what we're going to work. This is what has been working during practice. This is going to be our final game plan heading into whatever opponent we have to play. Friday is basically like a walkthrough day. And then Saturday, it's game time. And then Sundays, we usually have a come in recovery lift, stretch, a little light lifting just to get your muscles, moving again. It might not be full go, but we're doing something every day of the week.
Every single day of the week. Wow. So if there's anybody out there that's like, man, I want to play football for college one day, just know this is your schedule.
Yeah.
This is what you got. But if you love the game, it's worth it, right? It's worth all of that to go through.
We actually talk about it as we're working out because you have to remind yourself.
Right. We like this, right? We like this.
Yeah, you have to remind yourself. I strongly mean this, and I know some people say it to like not intimidate, but discourage people. I more say it to give you a different perspective. If you truly do not love this, don't do it. And I really mean like you're going to waste your time. You're going to waste a lot of emotion. I've seen, not here, but just in general throughout my entire life of playing football, I've seen a lot of people force themselves into this sport and make themselves highly disappointed.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, and I know especially with younger kids, there's always that one dad basically forcing them to play this. Luckily, my dad wasn't like that. If I told my dad I wanted to drop out and paint pictures, he would have supported me with that too. But if you really don't love this, trust me, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Please, for your own peace, find something else. I don't mean that. I'm not saying that to discourage anybody. I'm saying that to tell you, if this isn't something you see yourself doing and want to do, don't do it.
Yeah. Well, that's a good perspective to have. Just make sure this is really something you want. And to go through all of what you have to go through to get to that place, you've really got to have some dedication and resilience. So that's really important. So I love that you shared that. Well, Jacob, this has been so great. I have loved getting to talk with you, and I'm such a huge UGA fan, so I'm so excited for you and this upcoming season. Before I let you go, I always ask my guests to tell me a memory from when they were a kid. So do you have a memory you want to share with us today?
I do, actually, and it's probably more sappy than anything. But when I was little, my dad my parents have always been together, 35, 36 years marriage. But my dad used to work a lot, travel, because he just had to travel a lot. So when I was younger, when my dad could pick me up from school, it was like a big deal for me. And I used to go to this after school program. It's called, it's kind of like YMCA, but not the ghetto version, but like the less known version of YMCA. But I loved it. But we used to play football. We used to have check-in time, homework time, snack time, and then like recess basically after every school day. And then when we would play football out there with like all the counselors and stuff like that. And naturally, I was one of the better kids. I won't say I was the greatest, but I was one of the better kids.
Yeah.
And I used to vividly remember on Fridays, my dad could usually pick me up. So he would. And I vividly remember one time they didn't actually kick it, but, they would throw it off. Like when they would give the ball back to the other team, and I was the one they would always return because I was pretty fast. And one time he was like, Jacob, like, we got to go. Like, we got to go home. We got to go home. And I was like, Dad, can I get one more? He's like, good, fine, but you better score. And he was just joking. So they threw the ball off, and I caught the kick, and I run it all the way back. And I juked out like our camp counselor, like a grown man. Because everybody else is kids, third, fourth grade. But like the camp counselor, he's like a grown man. So I juked him out. And I ran all the way to the end zone. It was a soccer goal, but I ran all the way to the end zone. This is Selden's Landing Elementary School, if anybody goes there and knows the place.
Nice.
And after that was done, I literally like put the ball down and just ran to my dad. And I vividly remember him like picking me up in the air, all that stuff, which like me and my dad are like almost like too tight now to where I would never admit that memory to him now. I'd feel like I wouldn't let him get that leg up on me. But as a kid, like I do like vividly remember that happening. And that was always like a key memory I always kept in the back of my head.
That's good. I love that. That's really cool that your dad was there to see that and he called it for you. So that's good. Well, tell our listeners what's your number so we can find you on the field.
Number 45.
45. All right. We're going to be looking for Jacob Hardie on the field this season for sure.
We're having a camp this summer, July 13th. I know that's going to be passed. by the time this comes out. But
yeah, they might miss it.
We plan to make it an annual thing, so plan for next July then.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm trying to be around in the community to honor, my family and friends who have passed, who are big into, giving back. So if you're ever in Athens and you need anything, please reach out. I do free appearance. I'm not charging nobody. I do charity work for anybody. That's one of my missions as myself. So I'm big into charity. I'm big into giving back, and I'm extremely big into mental health. I can talk about mental health for hours. So if you are ever in struggle or anybody, I'm open about it. I go to therapy once or twice a week. So if anybody needs anything, please, or just a conversation, hit me up. I'll respond.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. This has been so fun talking to you, and I'm so excited for this season. So go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Wasn't that so good? I love learning about football, and I love learning what it's like to be a player. Jacob shared that football has always been very important to him his whole life, and he's learned so much about being tough and trusting the process and looking to God in the tough times and the good times. And how cool was it that he landed this opportunity to play with UGA by just playing hard in practice and being noticed when the recruiters were actually looking at another player. And then he ends up getting recruited to play for UGA. And Jacob shared that football really is a lot of hard work, and it takes dedication and a passion for the game to be successful. So we will definitely be cheering on Jacob Hardie as he plays with UGA this season. Go Bulldogs! Well, now it's time for the kids only segment. This is the part of the show where you get to be on the podcast. So here's a joke from my friend John.
Why can you not trust trees?
Why?
Because they're super shady.
It was shady. That's a good one. I like that joke, especially for fall. Hey, if you would like to be like John and be on the podcast by sharing your favorite joke, or maybe a quote that you like from a book or a movie, or your favorite Bible verse or a song, just head over to my website, collidekidspodcast.com, and click the tab that says Kids Only. You can record it right there, or you can send me a video through social media, and I will feature that video on our YouTube channel. I'm on Facebook at the Collide Kids Podcast, or on Instagram at Collide Kids Pod. And speaking of YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got the full-length interviews for you to watch there, as well as every episode in audio. So you can listen to your favorite episode while you're on YouTube. Isn't that fun? You can also subscribe to your favorite podcast app and listen to us there. And hey, if you'd like to support the podcast, there's a few ways you can do that. First, be sure to subscribe on your podcast app or on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this show, and leave us a rating and a review. You can also share the episode with friends and family on your social media, or send it through a text, or just show them your phone that you're listening to the Collide Kids podcast. And I always appreciate your prayer support as well. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing week, and thank you so much for listening today. In case no one has told you, I would love to be the first to remind you today that God loves you so much. Thanks for listening. Go Bulldogs!
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news, because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be, because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between. And all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.